The last time J.J. Lehto and Marco Werner made an appearance on CBS Sports in the American Le Mans Series, it was a day they would just as soon forget. However, since that long day in May, that duo has teamed with Tom Christensen to give the Dane his record 7th victory in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, while carrying Champion Racing to the first American privateer win since 1965. Then 2 weeks ago, that tandem dominated the competition on their way to victory at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. Today, despite a tough qualifying battle, Lehto and Werner are favorites again, as the American Le Mans Series continues to bask in the glow of unparalleled success at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
The American Le Mans Series. Cool cars, world-class drivers, premier road courses. Born in France in 1923 with the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the ALMS is the glamour, the glory, and the grueling reality of sports car racing. European style with American attitude. Drivers from around the world strut their speed, skill, and endurance. 4 separate classes racing on the track at the same time. It is the chain that connects the new and the faithful sports car fans of an extraordinary endurance racing tradition. This is the American Le Mans Series.
And 3 of the 4 class winners and 7 of the 12 podium finishers from the 24 Hours of Le Mans are racing here today, live on CBS Sports, as the American Le Mans Series makes its way to the wine country of Sonoma, California for the Infineon Grand Prix presented by Yokohama. This is round 5 of the 10-race American Le Mans Series for 2005. Hi everybody, I'm Ralph Shaheen along with Bill Adam and a host of others. You're on board with your overall class leader in P1 right now, J.J. Lehto in the #1 Audi, working his way through traffic, Bill.
And as we speak, right here in the dashboard, the wonder of electronics, that is a low fuel pressure warning. So we may see J.J. make a pit stop, but up to this point, he has simply been brilliant. This is like watching Lance Armstrong. You are watching one of the greatest in the world.
And here's a look at the 4 class leaders that we have right now. J.J. Lehto in P1, Jeff Bucknam out front in P2, Ron Fellows in the Corvette leading GT1, and Timo Bernhard in his Porsche out front in GT2 in the number 23. Well, let's get you caught up in our Pirelli storylines, the stories that we'll be following in each of the 4 classes today. We have 3 folks working pit lane for us, and Calvin Fish will get us updated on the Pirelli storylines in the prototype categories. Calvin?
Well, Ralph, in the LMP1 category, the battle for supremacy has really seen the pendulum swing between the champion Audi squad and the Dyson racing teams. Rounds 1 and 2 of this championship went the way of Audi. And then we saw Dyson have that great 1-2 finish at Mid-Ohio. And then there was the break for Le Mans. Dyson stayed at home. They did their homework. They did testing for the rest of the season. We all know the result. Champion went over there, had a great win. The first for an American-based team since 1967. Here at Infineon, we're back to the normal situation. The teams battling it out, a mere 700ths of a second separating the 2 teams in qualifying, and we're going to see the same thing in the race today. Now in LMP2, this was the only class the ALMS team did not win at Le Mans, despite the valiant efforts of both the Intersport and Miracle Motorsport entries. Here on home turf, however, Clint Field grabbed their 4th pole position of the year for the number 37 Intersport Racing entry. And right now, there's a great battle out on the track between them and the number 10 car. And I think if either of these cars falter, we can once again look for that number 8 BK Motorsport Mazda power team to come through and pick up the pieces, just as they did at Mid-Ohio. Now, for more on the GT1 storylines today, let's go down to Tracy Wilson.
In GT1, the number 3 Corvette, driven by Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell, will be going for their 5th straight win here, but it's not going to be easy. They will be challenged by not only their teammates in the number 4 car, who won at Lime Rock last week, and Le Mans. They will also be challenged by the Asemco Saleen that is running at its best right now. And now they also finished with 2/10 off the pace in qualifying. And when you add the roll modifications IMSA has made to help narrow the playing field, this could be one of the most competitive GT1 battles we have seen all season. Now, let's head to Brian, to Calvin, with more.
Well, we're seeing the first of the pit stops for the LMP1 category. JJ Lehto had the lead in the #1 champion Audi. JJ hits the gas a lot, and this means that he's a little heavier on the fuel than his teammate Emanuele Pirro in the #2 car. This is a surprise. We expected this team to double stint this first set of Michelin tires, keep JJ in the car before turning it over to his teammate Marco Werner. So JJ's been on the radio. The balance must have gone away a little bit, and they're going to try and make a change here and try and keep them back in the action. JJ jumps out of the car. None of the tire changing can be done until the fueling is complete, and then the car can be put up in the air on the jack stand. So a really patient moment. It takes about 28 seconds to get the fuel flow in. 90 liters, about 23 gallons of gas. Now the mechanics go to work. They should change these tires with no hiccups in about 12 seconds. 2 air guns, 1 each side. Mechanics can work together. It's orchestrated. Brad Kettler on the radio telling the driver to be ready. Bit of a problem on the left front. He's down and he's away.
Guys, in GT2, the story is Alex Job Racing. They are on a roll. They partnered with BAM Racing to win the world's most prestigious endurance event in the GT2 class, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But Alex Job Racing has also won the last 2 American Le Mans Series races, and they've won the last 3 ALMS races here at Infineon Raceway. Driver Timo Bernhard, who's in the car right now, also set a new qualifying record in qualifying on the pole position yesterday, and also has their track race record here as well. So these guys very hot right now, and the guys in the 31 car, Peterson White Lightning, George Bergmeister and Patrick Long, they've already had a problem here today, allowing Timo Bernhard and Romain Dumas in that 23 Alex Job Racing car to close in on the Drivers' Championship lead.
All right, Brian, thanks. Well, it's busy as we join the action here live on CBS Sports. The race had gotten away a little while ago. Let's take you back to the beginning of today's event here at Infineon Raceway. It's been a beautiful day here for all the pageantry early this morning as the field got ready to go green. And we are set for the green flag. Once the pace car pulls off, we'll be underway from Infineon. Round 5.
Keep your eye on that number 20 car. Look at him under sideways acceleration already. Look at the Audi.
We're green and racing.
Green, green, green.
JJ Lehto has grabbed the lead. Look at the battle back there.
Banging the sides of the cars as we come up through turn 2 and diving to the inside into
and he
green.
spun it.
1 is around already. The 16 car is around. The Weaver Leitzinger car is around and trying to get fired back up.
Boy, that is emotion overcoming logic right there. He did not have tires up to temperature. This is something they have to be patient with to get these racing tires. He's still trying to fire it up.
There it goes. And underway.
Well, he's lucky he went off at that spot because there's no damage to the car, but he will just be mad. Thankfully, it's Butch Leitzinger. He can settle down and get back into the business. But right now, champion running first and third. They took advantage of the cold tires on the number 20 car. JJ Lehto grabbing that lead.
We've got another look at it, Bill.
Well, you see them bumping coming off the corner. Now, at this point, Butch maybe should have backed out of it, but tries to go inside.
Back on. Everything's fine.
There you hear him saying, he's spun, everything's fine. Good news.
There's a look at it from the helicopter. Just no room on the inside. And now here's an onboard look from Butch's car.
And just listen.
There's the green flag, and up the hill they come.
Look to the right. Fighting that wheel.
Well, you can
Hear him revving it.
And you can hear him feeding the throttle in as it came off of turn 2, searching for the traction on those cold tires.
It's very difficult. JJ Lehto got a good lead right now over Andy Wallace in second place, Emanuele Pirro in third.
Sweeping down through the carousel. The never-ending left-hand turn that comes down the hill, down this straightaway. to a hard braking zone at the far north end of the racetrack. Turn 7. Hard on the brakes here, Bill.
I think another one of the advantages of Lehto is with the win at Le Mans, he is still in confident mode.
GT1, it's all Corvette up front right now, and it looks like the number 3 Corvette has a lead over car number 4 up the inside. Here he comes.
Wow.
And a change for position now in GT1 as Ollie Gavin takes the lead away from Ron Fellows.
And for the last few years, Ollie Gavin has owned this track, qualifying the Corvette on the pole. He is just so quick around here. But Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell, as we've talked about so many times, they are so intelligent together. They are very, very hard to beat because they drive so smart.
The number 4 car, of course, the machine that won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in GT1. There's the Celine running in 3rd in GT1. In fact, the top 4 GT1 cars running nose to tail. The car behind it is the Maserati. And that car holds down 4th, and then it looks like the C5R Corvette, the previous generation of the Corvette, runs back in 5th. So the top 5 in GT1 nose to tail, Bill.
We're seeing both the Celine and Maserati run a lot better this weekend, but given a little bit of a break by regulations, allowing a larger air inlet restrictor, a little more horsepower, and something to help them with fueling times that we'll talk about later on. But this is the closest the Celine has been all year long. He qualified only 0.2 of a second behind Ollie Gavin, the master Corvette driver at this track. And then right on his tail, that beautiful blue Maserati. Very exotic car.
The object, of course, to try to make the competition as close as they can. And boy, when you got the top 5 in GT1 running this close together, it looks like the officials have done a great job with the rule book in this category.
And a huge break coming up right here for Butch Leitzinger. A full course yellow. Everybody will be closing back up.
This was the first and only full course caution of the day. The reason being these tire barriers down at the far end of the racetrack at turn 11 got knocked out onto the course. Back underway in P2, Jeff Bucknam behind the wheel. The number 10 has been the car to beat all day today. Been very, very tough, as you heard earlier from Calvin. This is a very strong race car here today. In GT1, you saw Ollie Gavin make the pass on Ron Fellows. Well, from what we can tell, it looks like Team Warner's put Ron Fellows back in front of Ollie Gavin. In GT2, the 23 car has been the dominant machine here all afternoon long so far. Just as Brian suggested, Timo Bernhard behind the wheel. But this has been the best battle of the afternoon, and it's in GT2. Mike Rockenfeller in the 43, there's the onboard look from him, being chased by Lonnie Pechnik in the Flying Lizards number 44. Now there was one close moment for our overall race leader, JJ Lehto. Watch as he bumps with the P2 car of Liz Halliday, the number 37. It's the only problem that he's had so far. Andy Wallace didn't have troubles in the number 20.
You got nothing.
It seemed to be a fuel issue. Once the car came to a stop.
Andy, switch to the other fuel pump. Switch to the other fuel pump.
The instructions came over the radio.
Cycle the ignition switch.
Yeah, I've done that several times, mate. It came up as a fuel alarm. That's what first happened, was a fuel alarm. I've recycled it several times. I'll do it again.
And did you try changing the fuel pump switch from pump 1 to pump 2?
No, mate, just doing that now.
And the instructions worked. And off went Andy.
Yeah, that did it.
Most recently, while we were watching the highlights, this took place. Number 2 Audi R8 pitted, and Emanuele Pirro got out of the car, and Frank Biela from Germany got in. Calvin standing by with more from the Audi pits. Calvin?
I'm here with JJ Lehto. Great opening stint there. You took the lead from Andy Wallace. I know tire choice was going to be critical this weekend with the compounds for Michelin. Why did you decide to change after just one single stint, JJ?
Well, because that was the plan anyway, to do a single stint for me, and then Marco is doing a longer one. In the beginning of the race, it's always the same thing. There's not enough rubber on a track, and you have to push really hard, so use the tires much harder. So towards the end of the race, it starts to get better on the tires and more gentle, so you can do a little bit longer with them. So that was the plan. I was a little bit surprised on the radio when Brad was asking that, would I do double stint. And I said, no way, you know, I have my fronts are gone. So it's, they were not really gone, but towards the end of the second stint, it would have been really slow.
Traffic is now always an issue here with 4 different classes racing in ALMS competition. Any close calls for you out there?
Well, it was with that number 37. I guess that the girl was driving it, and she's been blind this weekend, you know. She needs to learn to look at the mirrors and also the flags. It was close. It was close.
Well, certainly it was close. Luckily, they got away with that one. But it's a very tough racetrack, Bill, to drive with the sweeps and turns, the undulations. Sometimes even when you're trying to get out of the way, you can't around here.
Yeah, it really is. And it's one of these things that there's not only the elevation changes, but with all of the speeds involved in the various classes, it's much like driving down the city streets with a whole bunch of traffic. You just don't have the luxury of looking in your mirrors all the time, and that's where you try to rely on the flaggers, but boy, it can be dangerous.
JJ Lehto and Oliver Gavin discussing things from out on the racetrack. Stay with us. We'll be back for more from Infineon Raceway right after this.
CBS Sports coverage of the Infineon Grand Prix, presented by Yokohama, is sponsored by Porsche. Porsche, there is no substitute. And by Yokohama Tires, the only choice for those who demand uncompromising performance.
Welcome back to Infineon Raceway. This twisting 2.5-mile road course built back in 1968 here at the gateway into the Sonoma wine country. Well, Bill, here's a look at our Michelin field summary.
Michelin really dominating the field. You can see there with 12 cars compared to 6 for Pirelli, 2 Goodyear, 2 Yokohamas, and 1 each of Dunlop and Kumho tires. The field is getting more competitive, but you still got to stay with Michelin because they have the advantage of being so long-lasting. They stay very consistent, and the other manufacturers are still trying to catch up to their technology.
It's working well for these guys right now. They are the overall race leaders and running on those Michelins. As you can see, it's a tricky racetrack here at Infineon. Well, Bill Adam takes a look at our slime track description.
Infineon Raceway packs 12 turns into just over 2.5 miles, making this a very challenging track, but it has 3 outstanding passing spots. The first up here at turn 4. This is after a downhill straight, making braking that much more difficult, and you really need to carry a lot of speed off the corner into this long, flat-out right-hander. Up over the crest of the hill, eventually leading up to the second spot, turn 7. Heavy braking up in this area. It is very slow, a very tight corner. You can see that you need to carry speed right here because this leads on to the long, downhill, undulating back straight up ahead. And the final spot, well, from the highest speed in the entire tracks, right down there into the lowest speed section, the hairpin. And you need to get in as deep as possible under braking. When you turn in, you can depend somebody trying to get the inside, and yes, there will be bumping and grinding coming out of the front straight. Very challenging track, but very rewarding.
Attorney Robert Marshall and land developer Jen Coleman had the idea of building this racetrack. They kind of thought of it when they were out on a hunting trip. Now it's owned by Bruton Smith and Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, and they've done a tremendous job of improving this facility over the years, and it's now arguably one of the finest road racing facilities in the world.
It's a beautiful track, although I suspect they probably got the idea after enjoying some of the Sonoma Valley wine, Ralph. It's an incredibly good track. Everybody likes it. The only downside this weekend is some of the heat that we've experienced out here, and drivers like Marco Werner right here driving the ADT champion car, they're a little bit cooler having the open air around them. But some of the GT cars, I do not envy them this weekend because it's a hot one.
And fortunately, though, today is actually cooler than it was on Friday. Friday was absolutely blistering here. But now today, about, what would you say, about 20 degrees cooler on the racetrack?
I think it is for sure. That, as you point out, Friday was very hot, almost 100 degrees here in the valley. Jumping into the fire suit, the folks at home, try and imagine putting on your ski suit and then going out jogging. Now you've got gloves on and you're working very, very hard. This is not like sitting in your average living room or in your street car and just driving around town. You have to concentrate so hard. These are physically demanding cars, and these are tremendous world-class athletes. They may lose as much as 6 or 7 pounds, and they have to retain the concentration, which is a huge challenge.
Let's take a look at GT2. Remember, there are 4 different classes competing on the racetrack at the same time with the American Le Mans Series, all racing for individual checkered flags. And Boy, this guy, Timo Bernhard, in this car, the Alex Job Racing number 23, without a doubt. As you can see, they started first, currently first, and they are a long ways away from seeing any pressure come from behind.
Yeah, pretty remarkable performance, both by Timo and the entire team. They've had this locked up, literally from the drop of the green flag. As you just point out, there's nobody even close to challenging them right now. Timo, very good, past GT2 champion in the American Le Mans Series. Young, what a future he's got.
And Porsche just sweeping down through the very fast S's here, and you make your way down to turn number 10, which is a very challenging corner. It's coming up as we work our way down through 9. This right-hander, Bill, coming up right here at 10, really will get your attention right there.
About 100 miles an hour for the GT2 Porsches as they go through. They accelerate back up down the straight, maybe to 125, 130, and then very heavy braking down to less than 40 as they go around this hairpin.
There's the second place car in GT2, Lottie Pechnik. As you remember, back to our highlights, that Flying Lizard car was running in third behind Mike Rockenfeller, having a tremendous fight. So how did he get into second place? Well, here's a look.
Mike Rockenfeller in that car, the black Porsche in the picture right there, and watch the red one behind. He's going to go deep down the inside. This is coming into braking for the hairpin, and look at this, just able to squeeze it underneath. Very good move on the Flying Lizard car. The 44 car, this is their home track, so that's maybe a little added incentive for him to try and win in front of the crowd. Now here's it on board. Class move by Mike Rockenfeller driving the Yokohama car that we're on board right here. He was completely aware of where the following car was. Didn't turn in.
Trouble for the number 4 Corvette, which right now Oliver Beretta is behind the wheel. Spinning at the top of turn 2, the Maserati almost catching him. Gosh. That car was running in second place at the time, and it looks like he has slipped at least back to third.
Everything okay?
No response yet.
I think at this point in the track, Olivier's pretty busy.
How's your tires? How's your tires?
Well, he also knows that Maserati's right on his tail. Let's see what happened, Bill.
I expect the bump of turn 1. Here he is coming up. Oh, no, he got loose way early.
And that's a scary spot to get loose. That's probably the second fastest section of this racetrack going into turn 1.
It is. Olivier really had the back of the car loose coming into the corner, and I think following behind the teammate's car, he may have been picking up some of the bad air. These cars are, now we're on board the Maserati, and let's take a look as we come out of the front straight to see what he's going to do now. This is coming through the hairpin up ahead.
Fabrizio De Simone behind the wheel. Oh, and problem for one of the Porsches on pit lane. The 78 backing up.
I don't know if he's allowed to do that. This may be a penalty because he's backing up.
And Pierre Eric behind the wheel of that car. And at Le Mans just a few weeks ago, the 10 car, who is leading in PT2 right now, had a problem with that very same maneuver and was excluded from the finish.
That's right. You're not supposed to do that. But unless he has a huge problem, and at that point it doesn't matter. Let's take a look and see.
Let's see what happened. Looks like he missed pit lane and is backing onto pit lane.
Boy, I don't know. It looked to me like he's maybe... Hey, I think he's coasting at that point, Ralph. It doesn't look like he's under power. So maybe something just failed at that point, and that's all he could do.
Well, apparently Porsche's coast backwards pretty quickly.
Well, the hill is quite steep at that point. Unfortunately, like so often, you really don't get an idea of elevation changes. Oh, and there's a 16. Now, I just got a word here. He's coming in for a power steering problem.
Butch Leitzinger is behind the wheel, Calvin.
He is, and what in fact happened in the early going there on the opening lap, we saw the bump with he and Pirro, and what it did, it knocked loose a piece of equipment inside the cockpit. It's actually the boost gauge that IMSA uses to regulate that the teams do not use too much boost. What it has now done has been swinging around, and they believe it's hit the circuit breaker that operates the power steering on this car. So when you lose power steering on one of these things, you're really going to have a tough job to hang on to the race car. So Butch has brought it in. They didn't want to do under green. They thought they were going to catch a break there with the yellow with the problem with the Corvette, but there's no full course yellow, so the team now to do this under green. They're trying to do it as quickly as possible. Hopefully they rectify the problem. Let's go down pit lane.
Calvin, Bill Auberlen has brought his Panoz GT2 car in, running really strong earlier in the day, as high as second place, but this team struggled with both cars all weekend long. Robin Liddell will be taking over for Bill Auberlen. They had a differential failure yesterday in practice. They had to put a new one in, and the car has not handled well since then. The 50 car with Bill Auberlen and Robin Liddell in it. Also struggling with some aerodynamic imbalances. The officials came to them in the last round for the American Le Mans Series at Lime Rock, made them make an aerodynamic change to the front end of this car, and they've been fighting to regain that aerodynamic balance. In order to do that, they had to take a bunch of aerodynamics out of the back end of the car to help balance that was taken from the front end of the car, and they think they've lost as much as 25 to 30% overall downforce on these Panoz Esperante LMGTs. Robin Liddell getting set to go back out. They've changed all 4 Michelin tires. Anyway, or all 4 Pirelli tires, I apologize. Anyway, you look at it, a struggle for the guys at Panoz this weekend. Ralph?
Well, Brian, 25 to 30% loss in downforce is huge.
Tremendous.
Critics call Rockstar In Excess a reality show that rocks. This week, catch all new performances of your favorite rock and roll hits, and your vote will help decide who stays and who goes. Rockstar In Excess, new episodes Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, only on CBS. For year-round auto racing coverage with late-breaking news, up-to-date standings, and complete driver rankings, click on Autos at CBSSportsLine.com. And here's a look at our leaderboard as we get set to take a quick break. Here from Infineon Raceway, Marco Werner, Jeff Bucknam, Johnny O'Connell, Timo Bernhard out front. This week on CBS, the secret is out. Big Brother is a place for big twists, big surprises, and a big final payoff. Don't miss new episodes of Big Brother Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday on CBS. The Klein Tools Pit Stop Competition is a huge part of the weekend activities with the American Le Mans Series, and this is an opportunity for the pit crews to be in the spotlight a little bit. It took place yesterday, and it all came down to this car right here, Bill, the number 4 Corvette crew.
And as you pointed out, I mean, this really is where the crews get to shine. The drivers are always the ones up on the podium, but they don't get there without the crews doing all the hard work.
And this is also one time where the teams from the different categories actually compete against each other. The Corvette guys shut down the champion Audi crew, and they won $10,000 as team manager Doug Feehan congratulated his bunch. And they will all go on to the semifinals in Road America coming up in August, where they'll move on to the next round. Well, the Corvette guys hope to spray some of the Sonoma Valley, Napa Valley champagne here at the end of the afternoon, too.
Well, you know what? These guys are not...
Oh, look at that.
Number 4 off again.
Car.
Beretta has spun for the second time.
And that's coming up the hill at turn 3, a little bit farther than where he spun last time.
Okay. One of the Flying Lizard cars right behind Olivier. He maybe is trying really hard because he had got back up to within about 10 seconds.
Can't get away from that Maserati, though, can he? It's still right there.
I think he's continued to have radio problems. The crew did call him to see if the car was okay the last time, and he didn't answer. So I think the first spin might have knocked the radio controller off.
Well, and just about the time he catches his breath from the first spin, he spins it again.
That's right, Bill. They do have radio problems. They have lost radio contact with Olivier Beretta, so they've been using the pit board to tell him how many laps he has to before he has to come in. They're going to bring him in and check out what's going on with that radio.
Now, the pit board means that they will actually hold a sign out, a board, and they'll write the words pit on there to tell him to pit next time by, Bill.
Well, Ian, once again, look at the trail of rubber, like way back there in the background. I think they've got a little bit of a problem with the rear brakes in this car, because twice we've seen the car spin before it even enters the corner. It tells me the rears are locking up, throwing the car sideways, and then it's a case of he's along for the ride.
Keep an eye out to the left side of the screen, see if we can see the Corvette crew hanging out over the wall with the pit sign for Olivier.
Yeah, I think that the sign's going to say, stop spinning, Olivier. But they've got enough controls inside the car. They can actually, or should be, dial the brake balance in the car, so to take some of the pressure off the rear brakes. unless that is a bit of a problem for him. Maybe now that is broken and he can't do anything to change the brake bias.
And that's something the driver would do himself from inside the cockpit.
Yeah. And usually as a driver, you can feel the back end wiggling around. You've done it in your own car 100 times. And you can't do anything about it. But on the race cars, you can. You could give the front or rear brakes more pressure.
The GT2 leader, Timo Bernhard, has made his way to pit road. Brian Till.
Ralph, everything flawless for the guys at Alex Job Racing today. Timo Bernhard just spectacular in qualifying, and in this first stint, he will hand over to Romain Dumas. And like I said, this team has not missed a beat all weekend long. There's not a mark on this car, and he's been consistently a half a second faster than any other car in class on the racetrack. Now the engine sits idle right now in the American Le Mans Series. The engine must be shut off during refueling, and after the refueling goes on, then the tires can be put on. The car is now down on the ground, and Romain Dumas takes his Alex Job Porsche back on track.
Bill, that's strictly a safety measure from the American Le Mans Series.
Yes, it is. It's a great idea, and it just adds one more challenge. You have to keep that car running perfect. That car, if you noticed, it looked beautiful when he stopped. It didn't even look dirty at all. And there is James Weaver back on the track after another pit stop trying to fix their problems.
Currently, that car is listed 8th place overall, Calvin.
Well, indeed, Ralph, we talk about the Dyson cars being fast but fragile, and Butch Leitzinger, you had the opening stint. Talk us through the incident with Pirro and then the consequences to the car.
Yeah, with Pirro, really, it was just a bit of argy-bargy between us, and his car's bigger than mine, so he won. It was just we were really both trying very hard, and I thought that I might have him on that one, but he went in really deep, and we ended up side by side and hit, and I spun.
What happened inside the car? I understand something broke loose there?
Yeah, I don't think it was a result of that, but there's an IMSA boost box that regulates our boost, and that broke loose, and it's a big honking piece of seal, and it was crashing all around the cockpit, and I think it took out an ECU or two, and it's taken out the power steering.
Are these cars impossible to drive when the power steering is out, Butch, with the downforce that they have, around 3,000 pounds?
Yeah, possibly if you were a big, strong man, you might be able to drive it, but a little man like me has a pretty hard time with it. Going up the hill with a car seriously loaded, it's just all you can do to make sure the car gets around the corner.
Okay, well, they've got the old boy out there, 50-year-old James Weaver. Hopefully he can hang on. They've made 2 pit stops. Hopefully they've rectified the problem, Ralph.
Well, you know something, Calvin, just to point out something for the viewers at home. If you think that maybe he's not strong enough or a bit of a weakling, try sometimes going to a very empty parking lot with a street car when it's got power steering and shut the car off as it's moving and then try and turn the steering wheel. It feels like your steering is locked up. And then think about a race car with wide front tires and downforce, and no, it doesn't matter how strong you are. It's almost impossible to turn that wheel.
We also got to congratulate Butch and his wife on their new daughter, 6 weeks old today, Anna May. Congratulations. Well, here's Jeff Bucknam in that number 10. It's been the dominant car in P2. It holds on to the lead right now, but Bill, things have not been as smooth as it originally looked today. They had a close moment not that long ago.
Yeah, he did. You can see. Look at this. There's the number 44 car, and so close to rear-ending that car. That's another of the problems, not problem, but a challenge of Infineon Raceway, that as you're coming over the crest of a hill, you're maybe setting up to pass a car, and you can't see a slower moving vehicle. They did a heck of a good job right there avoiding that huge rear-end collision.
And it sure looked like the 44 almost came to a dead stop. In fact, the 43 blew right by and now sits in second place in GT2. And it looks like the 44 has got issues and it has dropped off the GT2 charts. But the number 10 continues to lead in P2. Jeff Bucknam having a great time. In fact, Jeff Bucknam spent some time earlier this year in the Indianapolis 500 with the Indy Racing League. In the Indy Racing League, there's that 4 pit board with the word in on it. They need him in immediately. Well, we'll be right back after this message and a word from your local station. Wednesday on CBS, the designers get a chance to outfit several bands for a show at a legendary New York rock club. There's a whole lot of shaking going on, and you won't believe what happens next. Don't miss The Cut, Wednesday at 8/7 Central on CBS. It has been a year full of exciting news with the growth of the American Le Mans Series, but I don't think there is any news more exciting Then the announcement that Porsche is returning to sports car competition in a prototype category. Now, earlier this year, we brought you news that Porsche would return to prototype racing in the American Le Mans Series with a P2 entry commissioned from the factory by Porsche Cars North America. Today, exclusively here on CBS Sports, we have for you the pictures of the first Porsche prototype built in over 20 years. The car made its first testing appearance this week in Estoril, Portugal. Design Chief Wolfgang Durheimer explains how this project came about.
There are three major reasons. First, North America is the biggest single market we see worldwide. Second, Peter Schwarzenbauer, the president of Porsche North America, asked us to develop a brand new race car for American long-distance racing. And third, in the American market, we find a lot of enthusiasts and fans to the brand Porsche and its racing programs. Our goal with this new Porsche LMP2 race car is both to prove that we are able to win LMP2 races, and second, to create a highly desirable customer race car for our teams in the future. And two major points we try to achieve is first to have a car in weight as low as possible, and second, to make the car affordable for future customer racing teams. We were able to develop the car from scratch. Therefore, we didn't have to make a lot of compromises. The very unique points were the low center of gravity and the very high lateral forces we are able to take. We achieved these possibilities by designing a complete new engine and due to the new gearbox. We were able to build the car in a very short time. For the test period that comes up now, we have two major goals: to prove the competitiveness and the durability level of the new race car.
Porsche has not named the car yet, but those were truly the first exclusive video clips of the car testing in Estoril. Outside of the handful of Porsche mechanics that were there that day, we're the first ones that got to see it. You got to see it here on CBS.
It is exciting and it is beautiful. I can't wait until Petit Le Mans. I'm just dying to see that car. I think they're not only going to win P2, I think they're going to beat the P1 cars.
Now you're looking at the GT2 category. And this is the fourth place car, the Peterson White Lightning car. And right behind it, there comes a 23 with Romain Dumas behind the wheel, and that is the GT2 class leader. Brian Till with more.
Well, Ralph, we've already talked about it. The boys at Alex Job Racing have had it all their way this weekend. Timo Bernhard, a pole for you, and obviously some very fast race laps. From the time you guys unloaded off the truck, it has seemed almost easy.
Yeah, the car was in very good shape. We won here last year and we took some good setup and put it on the car for this weekend, and it was straight. The car was very good. But I have to say, I really like this track and I'm really happy to race here, and all week long, Romain and myself, we did a good job.
I know you guys had disappointment at Sebring the first round of the year, but with the performance as of late, winning the last two ALMS races, you got to feel like that Drivers' Championship is coming back to you.
No, I think at the moment I'm just thinking from race to race, because we are behind, but we cannot count on getting close or to get them in the end. I hope we can get them, but at the moment it's just all about winning racing, getting closer in little steps. I think if you have a DNF in the first race, it's the worst thing that can happen.
Well, guys, they did have that DNF at Sebring, but they've been strong ever since then, and they are closing in on Patrick Long and Jörg Bergmeister for that Drivers' Points Championship, but still a long way to go, Ralph.
Well, and closing in on Patrick Long right now, as a matter of fact. Patrick behind the wheel of this onboard camera shot that you're watching. And Patrick sits in fourth place in GT2, driving the Peterson White Lightning entry. We should also say that the number 78 GT2 category entry, the Porsche being driven by Pierre Erard and David Murray here this weekend, has retired due to clutch problems. That's the car we saw rolling back into pit lane earlier.
Again, for our new viewers, if you think these GT2 cars are slow, just keep an eye down here in this part of the box, the Porsche Digital Pilot telemetry that's coming from these cars. It'll give you a pretty good idea. They are little rocket ships. Not to be the street Porsches are quick enough, but these things, boy, they are blindingly fast.
Patrick Long making his way around Infineon Raceway, a big surfer, likes to go down to Mexico and stay in big surfing huts. His dad was a surfer, his uncle was a racer, and his younger brother, Spanky Long, is a big-time pro skateboarder. Yeah, has his own line of skateboards.
The name fits.
Well, you gotta have a name like Spanky.
Yeah. You couldn't be a Ralph and be a skateboarder.
I was, actually. Not as good as Spanky. Ryan?
Guys, you talk about the 23 car coming up behind the 31, and we should mention that Patrick Long had a great qualifying effort, qualified that car second, but was hit by a prototype early in the event and damaged that left rear wheel. So ever since then, I should actually say Jörg Bergmeister was in the car at the start. Jörg, one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, actually made a lap back up on the 23 car, but they've had a great performance today, but that impact early on has really set them back, and now Alex Job will try to put them back down a lap.
Now again, for new viewers, let me point out something. You can see down here that as he's shifting, it's not like the gear shift in your street car to go up to gears to go third to fourth to fifth to sixth. You simply pull the gear shift back, and to downshift, as he's doing right there, he's pushing forward. So a lot different to watch. Lights on the dashboard as well, very similar to the R8 Audi. We get back inside the ADT Champion car, you can see the lights and the shifting system there. I'll explain that as well. But so that you don't have to actually look at the gauges, just pay attention to the lights. When you see the red come on, shift the gear. That actually works as much as a safety factor because you're able to keep focusing your eyes on what's up there, and that's what's important.
And there's Patrick Long. Here's the number 43 car. The BAM Racing entry, which right now Wolf Hensler's behind the wheel and they run in second place. Here's a look at our GT2 standings currently right now. At Le Mans, they were the race winner. And they did it with the number 71 on the side of the car. It was kind of a combination effort between BAM Racing and Alex Job Racing. One of the class winners from the famed 24 Hours of Le Mans competing here today, live on CBS. Jean Richard is the official timekeeper of the American Le Mans Series. And the P2 leader has decided it's time to make its way to pit lane. Calvin Fish has that story.
Well, Jeff Bucknam comes in, and they certainly don't want to make the same mistake they made at Mid-Ohio. They ran Jeff Bucknam over 2 hours, which is the maximum. One of the drivers has to do at least 45 minutes. So right now, Chris McMurray jumping in. He'll have about 55 minutes to go in this race. This team has won 2 races. They're fresh off a victory at Lime Rock Park, which has been great for the debut of not only this team, but also the Kumo tires. They've done a tremendous job. And I think they could have certainly won all 4 races. They won the 12 Hours of Sebring as well. They've continued to develop this tire. They've got a wider front that should be available for the next round at Portland, because typically these guys are fighting a little bit of understeer throughout the weekend. Fueling is done, tires are complete. Chris McMurray tries to get life in this AER engine. Struggling a little bit here. Fires it up and back underway. He should be good to go to the end of the race route with no more pit stops for fuel at least.
And this is one of the teams, Bill, that could give Porsche fits when they come into the series at Petit Le Mans at the end of the year and full-time next season, because this crew, when they iron out all the bugs, as Calvin mentioned, those Kumo tires are very fast and very durable on this car.
They have been impressive this year for a fairly new entry. They've been really good. Now, here in car number 3, the Corvette of Ron Fellows, Johnny O'Connell, they continue to lead the GT1 class.
Johnny O'Connell behind the wheel there and giving chase to them. Back a few spots in GT1, sitting in 4th is this car right here, the Maserati with Fabrizio De Simone on board. Tracy Wolfson has more on the story of this really cool-looking car.
Thanks, Ralph. What you see out here today is the product of 3 full days of hard work and preparation as each team tries to get their car ready to take the track. And I had a chance to go behind the scenes with Maserati to see how they went about getting their car ready for race day. We did it at Mid-Ohio. Let's take a look.
Ready? Okay. Green.
You have to communicate in Italian most of the time?
Because of the setup with the Italian drivers and the Italian engineers, it's just constant Italian. I mean, if something comes over for our guys to adjust, the engineer will say it in English. It does get a little bit confusion, but it's okay. It's getting there.
Any variation of balance during the braking, but se devi lanciare un'altra cara.
Is there anything ever lost in translation?
Yeah, several times. But you just have to bite your tongue and, pardon? What did you say? Are you sure? But our guys ain't learnt the swear words yet in Italian, so yet.
Yeah, right.
He can go in line if he wants. Do you want to go in line? You can go in line if you want, okay? Go behind the...
We can wait here.
Yes, okay, it's up to you guys. No, it's probably worth going behind one of the Corvettes anyway, if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
It's there for the taking.
Yeah, to see their lines and everything.
Exactly. It's got oversteer at the back. That's what he's complaining of at the moment. They're doing some wear shocker spring adjustment. It's very difficult, you know, on the communication. At times like this, it's from what they say, they forget to tell our guys in English.
And then translate it to you. So it takes longer than an average car, than an average team, because they have to translate.
And you're looking live at Fabrizio De Simone behind the wheel. Bill, you've done a lot of international sports car competition. How difficult is it with the language barriers?
It's really difficult. I mean, the best thing for these guys, the only truly easy part is if they go to an Italian restaurant. Everything else is tough. And as they pointed out, a lot of the translations, and sometimes you say a word that changes in the two languages.
Calvin.
Well, the Gremlins continue to plague the Dyson Racing team. Right now, James Weaver back into pit lane with a number 16 machine. This time, gearbox issues. We documented the power steering issues with Butch Leitzinger. Looks like they got on top of that, but right now the team, I believe, are transferring the car over from the paddle shift to the regular direct shift on the back of the gearbox here. Similar problem afflicted the number 20 car at the last round at Lime Rock Park. It's costing them time. Right now, all they're trying to do is hang on here, get points, and go on to the next round. It hasn't been the best of days for the Dyson team.
What a tough day and weekend it has been for this 16 and the 20. The 20 is still out on the racetrack, as you see right there, Chris Dyson behind the wheel. And that machine runs third in P1. Remember, we have 4 classes of competition going on the racetrack all at the same time here with the American Le Mans Series. And the Prototype 1 category, the biggest and the fastest. Well, one of the support series that always runs with the American Le Mans Series is the Star Mazda Championship presented by Goodyear. They ran one of their races just a few weeks ago.
CBS Sports coverage of the American Le Mans Series is sponsored by Michelin, a better way forward, and by Audi.
Welcome back to Infineon Raceway. And congratulations to The Late Show, nominated for 5 Emmy Awards. Tomorrow, don't miss a special appearance from Dave's mom. It's an all-new Late Show with David Letterman tomorrow here on CBS. There's a look from high above the Infineon Raceway on board this car now. That's the car we were looking at. That's Marco Werner behind the wheel, the champion Audi R8, fresh from a victory at the famed 24 Hours of Le Mans, racing live on CBS here today. What a stunning victory that was for that team. Not just for the crew, but for team owner Dave Mirage.
No, it was one of those things. It was a dream come true for everybody, and I know Dave certainly has tried to win it for years, and just the prestige of winning it. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is simply the biggest automobile race in the world. In the United States, we tend to think of the Indy 500 being the biggest. It's not. Oh boy, and he's stuck up the inside there of the Celine S7. But in Le Mans, they'll get 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 people actually at the track, and it is watched worldwide with rabid interest. So for them to accomplish that was a remarkable feat.
And remember, 3 of the 4 classes were won by entries from the American Le Mans Series, all competing here today.
Oh yeah.
And another one of those is this car right here, which is currently running 3rd in GT2 with their Yokohama tires. And Yokohama Tires has recently taken new technology and put it into their Advan tires. Brian Till explains.
One of the most impressive performances at this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans was Mike Rockenfeller qualifying on the pole in the GT2 class in his BAM Porsche utilizing regular Advan racing slicks. Not super sticky qualifiers like a lot of the tire manufacturers give their teams, but regular racing slicks. Art Michaelik is the Director of Marketing Communications with Yokohama. Art, how is that possible?
Well, we brought a new technology into tires. We brought in nanotechnology.
I thought nanotechnology was more involved in the computer industry, high-tech industries.
Yeah, it is. And what we've done is to take the idea of nanotechnology of working at a molecular level down to the tread compound. And what we find is we actually can get more grip on the road. We actually get more surface area in contact with the road because the tread itself is more flexible.
Okay, that's some pretty high-tech stuff, but I guess the thing that's most important to me is when can I buy that technology for my street car?
Well, it's available right now in the Advan Sport tire, but you have to buy a Bentley Continental GT to get it. However, by this fall, we'll have it available for sizes that'll fit just about any performance car on the street today.
I'm looking forward to that. Just another way that high technology makes it from the racetrack into your home. This time, it's Yokohama and Advan bringing performance to your street car.
And you're on board with one of the cars utilizing those Advan tires. That's the 43, and working their way around. Currently sitting second in GT2, Wolf Hensler behind the wheel. And with more on this team, here's Brian.
Well, Ralph, Wolf Hensler, the fastest guy on Yokohama tires right now, but it was Mike Rockenfeller that qualified that car. You got it early on, put it up in the top 3. You guys have to be happy with the performance right now.
Yeah, I mean, we are not... Patrick Long is right behind us, he's catching up, so it looks like we maybe can end up on 3rd position, which is good. I mean, we can't go the pace of the leaders, but podium would be really nice for the team.
Talk about podiums. I know that you'd like to win here today, but if you had to trade a win at Infineon or the one at Le Mans, I mean, Le Mans, that's something that you got to hold near to your heart for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. You don't have the chance to win Le Mans so often in your life. It's hard to finish this race, and we won it. So we are really, really happy. It was great for the team because they really needed a result. And then winning Le Mans, it's just the best you can win.
The best you can win. I think that says it all, Ralph.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And they're looking to maybe try to hold on to 2nd place, but as they said, Patrick Long closing rapidly in his number 31 GT2 car. Well, there is another Porsche series that runs as a support division to the American Le Mans Series. Here's a highlighted look at what took place here this weekend. The GT3 Cup Challenge at Mid-Ohio got off to a rainy start with Ricardo Emery on the pole and Lawson Aschenbach alongside. They had a great battle for the lead with Emery in the silver 7 and Aschenbach in the white 33. In the end, Emery on the inside gets passed by Aschenbach on the outside, and Lawson Aschenbach goes on to take the win in a rainy day at Mid-Ohio.
Welcome back to Infineon Raceway. Marco Werner, the race leader, makes his final pit stop. It was fuel only, a time stop. Whoa! And he hits the Corvette as he gets out of pit lane. Ralph.
Unbelievable. That is the C5R. That Corvette is not one of the factory cars for this year, but one of the factory cars from a couple years ago. Alex Figge behind the wheel of that car was sitting 4th in GT1.
And look at the Audi. I mean, once again, look at the
rear wheel.
Yeah, the left rear switch, and that Corvette is broken, but the Audi hardly looks damaged.
This has been it's a tank. It's a tank.
It has been the most remarkable race car in the history of autosport because of the beating it'll take. Look at that. That is simply unbelievable.
Coming in.
He's going to come in and get it checked over.
Tell me what's wrong.
The crew doesn't.
I think the right side is damaged.
I don't see a thing.
Pits are closed, they said. That would be Billings.
Pits are closed, Marco. Stay out. You're going to have to stay out.
You cannot pit unless the pits are open.
What the crew will be doing right now is they're going to be looking at our feeds, trying to get as close a view on our cameras as possible.
This is the 2nd full course caution of the day. There's Figge.
Yeah, he's done.
That car is, yeah, that is done for him for sure, but he's got a long way to go to limp around too. Maybe he's not going to pull it off.
He's going to pull it off right there to prevent any further damage, and that's a smart thing to do by Alex. Now, I expect that what he did, you see right here, now he's going up turn 1 right there, so as he came out, maybe the Corvette was trying to pinch the corner. We've seen some of the Porsches run in there very, very tight.
Please repeat.
Well, the radio...
It's broken, not the steering, it's not exactly. Driving from left to the right, coming in.
See him wiggling the car a little bit.
Marco, if you come in, we're not going to win this thing. We still have a shot at it.
Well,
he still wants in.
He would like somebody to check it, and as a driver, I certainly understand that. I mean, it's very hard to run 170 miles an hour when you don't have total confidence in a car. But having said that, these Audis have been so strong. Now here he is leaving the pits. Now watch as we see, let's see if the Corvette comes in real, and look at right there, so tight. He tried to take a tight line. Marco did nothing wrong at that point. Strictly an incident of racing. Now, here's our helicopter shot, Ralph.
And you can't really say Alex Figge did anything wrong either, because he was taking his line.
No, perfect on both people. See, Marco staying right within the yellow line, and that's it. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Audi. Boy, that gets your heart going.
Yes, it does.
Here we are again.
That's just 2 race cars meeting at the same spot at the same time.
Just pure bad luck.
And I'll tell you what, as we've talked about before, that is such a fast corner. Alex Figge very lucky as he slides through there.
Man.
That didn't turn into an even worse incident
I'll
for him.
tell you, something like that will double your heartbeat in a minute. Now, here's on board the Corvette, so let's watch and listen. Well, sorry about all that breakup. Unfortunately, the bridge and everything.
Oh,
it's a
look
flat.
at the right front wheel.
Yeah, something wrong. That thing is locked up solid.
Well, Calvin, what can you tell us?
Well, they certainly believe there may be some suspension damage to the #1 car. Spoke to Brad Kettler, and he said Marco is convinced there's a problem there. Now we see that the right front is locked up, and I'm just looking at that pit exit. I looked at it throughout practice and qualifying, guys, and it is very tight. I mean, the guys on track are coming through there. The prototype's just with a lift. It's an extremely high-speed part of the racetrack, and as you're exiting pit lane, Marco was on a charge. They had a very tight race going with the #2 car. Tenths of a second, let alone seconds, were vital. He couldn't afford to give anything up, and I think, as you said, Bill, it was just a racing incident there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, Cal. It just 2 cars trying to occupy the same piece of track.
There's Alex Figge. Alex Figge's car is done, and Marco Werner trying to hang on. We'll be right back after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the American Le Mans Series is sponsored by Michelin, a better way forward, and by Klein Tools, tools worth asking for.
Welcome back to Infineon Raceway. Major developments on pit road now. Here comes the #1 in with damage. That right front tire is down, Bill, and I would think maybe possibly some suspension damage to that car. The wheel's down like that.
No, don't. Oh, they're going to keep that wheel up. Okay, now they're getting a look at it.
You see the wheel's broken.
The wheel is broken. Let's get the hood off. All right, top wishbone, somebody just yell. So they need to change. Well, let's see. Really can't see, but right in there, they'll need to change that top A-arm on the car.
How long will this take?
With these fellas, probably not more than 9 or 10 minutes. It'll be a fairly quick stop. Now, here's another replay, the overhead shot. Watch, now he stays inside the yellow line to his right. He's totally legal. Neither car did a thing wrong. Simply wrong place, wrong time. And thankfully, there's lots of room off that outside. You see the Corvette was able to rebound after that probably 130-mile-an-hour hit.
Calvin.
Well, the team are going to work in changing that part. Marco Werner sits in the cockpit. Marco, did you see the Corvette on the pit exit there?
No, that's a different angle. So when you come out of the pit, it's difficult. You can see nothing. But I was completely on the left side. And I mean, there was enough room on the right side in this situation or in this point. And so we try now everything to fix the car and come back in the race to make some points. It's important for us.
Okay, well, obviously very disappointed. As he said, there was nowhere for him to go. Having said that, he could have certainly lifted a little bit. I mean, it's just one of those racing incidents. We have to give it to the Corvette. I mean, it's very difficult for them to see the car. They're blocked by a concrete wall along the pit exit here, so it's tough for the Corvette to see the cars that are actually exiting pit lane, Bill.
Now, part of it, I mean, it really was just an incident that, again, neither one to blame because Marco stayed well within the guideline painted on the track that they have to follow when they lead. He was perfect.
Fortunately, Alex Figge is okay out of that Corvette. Well, Porsche and Michelin have won many races together and hope to win more as they prepare for a new challenge together. Tracy Wolfson explains in the Michelin Tire Tip.
Last week at Lime Rock, Porsche handed Michelin their 50th GT2 win. I'm here with Amanda Head of Michelin Motorsports, and Amanda, Porsche and Michelin have had such success. What do you attribute that to?
Oh, well, I have to tell you first, Tracy, not only did Alex Job deliver us our 50th win in GT2, but they were also the team that brought us our first GT2 win 5 years ago when the series first started. But Porsche and Michelin have such a relationship when whether we're racing together or developing street tires and street cars together, we both have such a passion for excellence in technology. It's a match that's worked well for us.
And it shouldn't end there, especially with Porsche's new LMP car coming out.
This is a big deal for Porsche and for Michelin. We don't have an entry right now in the LMP2 class, and so we're really excited to come to the category with Porsche and see how the program goes.
Well, Michelin has had such success in the GT2 class with Porsche. It would be interesting to see how they could do with Porsche in the LMP class.
Oh, that's going to be so exciting as Porsche makes its way back to the American Le Mans Series in professional sports car racing. A lot of buzz about Porsche coming back to the American Le Mans Series with that new P2 car.
I keep waiting for the prospective Porsche versus Audi battle. Oh boy, will that be fun to watch. One lap to go.
Well, before we go green, tomorrow it's a great night of television on CBS, beginning with King of Queens, Everybody Loves Raymond, and 2.5 Men. Then don't miss a new episode of Rockstar in Excess, followed by Monday's #1 show, CSI Miami, plus Late Show with David Letterman tomorrow right here on CBS. Well, Frank Biela, remember we have 4 classes racing here today, all competing for individual checkered flags. Frank Biela right now leads the P1 category, chased by this car.
Back out again, that's Marco Werner.
They've got the Audi fixed, and he is back out, but he is in 3rd in P1. Chris Dyson moves the Dyson Racing entry, the #20 car, up into 2nd place in P1. In P2, the #10 still leads, McMurray behind the wheel. In GT1, the #3 Corvette leads that race class right now with Ron Fellows behind the wheel again. And Roma Dumas behind the wheel, the #23 GT2 Alex Job Racing Porsche is your leader in our 4th category. That pace car moves to the right, and we go back to green, live from Infineon.
Boy, look at Chris Dyson.
Right up the inside, taking the lead.
Well, actually, he's getting back on the same lap, I believe. I think the Dyson Wallace car was 1 lap down, so he wants to try and unlap himself so that should another yellow come out, he goes all the way around and forms up at the back of the grid. But smart heads-up move on Wallace's part.
Here's a look at it from the aerial shot, diving to the inside.
Boy, and he timed that just right. As soon as they crossed the start-finish line, he was able to go by. Totally legal and very sharp. Good job.
Now he needs a full course caution right now.
That's what he's praying for sure. You know, just a moment, too, to give some tribute to that champion ADT crew that we talked about. Damage to the car, you were able to see how quickly they were able to fix it. That's the kind of performance that does win you something like the 24 Hour of Le Mans. Just amazing work by these fellows.
And Chris Dyson behind the wheel of that car. Right there.
Yep, that is Chris. What a good young driver he's turned into. Dad's got to be pretty proud of him.
Of course, his father, the owner of the team, the family, longtime competitors in professional sports car racing. There's Rod right there. This is his father, along with Butch Leisinger watching. Chris doing a good job behind the wheel of that machine. And as you talked about, Bill, this is a young man who's found a lot. Oh, and the 10 car, our P2 leader.
I would expect cold tires causing that spin.
That should put the 37 car into the lead in P2. And it does. Clint Field now taking over the lead in P2. Now we go back to GT2. This is the 43, Wolf Hensler, and he is trying to hang on to second place in GT2. Patrick Long is right behind him in the Peterson White Lightning Porsche. Good battle for second place in GT2.
Boy, you hear a lot of RPM on that Porsche. Patrick Long closing right up at the entrance, that long carousel. Now let's see if Patrick sets up a pass here. He maybe will stay tight to the tail and watch him move out of line as he gets closer to the next corner. But keep an eye on this. Patrick's got to be aware of where that car is.
That's the number 10. Look at 4 GT2 cars, and trying to get through there is the car that is currently second in P2. That's part of the challenge of having 4 categories battling at the same time.
Downtown rush hour. Now what Patrick may want to try and do is to stay right on his tail down here. We have this very, very quick right-hander coming up at the finish of this corner. And then following that, a short straight leading to the best passing spot on the track. Right up ahead. Let's see if he tries it. Not quite close enough. Whoa.
Well, let's show you how good this battle is. We'll be able to time these guys for the different segments through the racetrack, and it'll start as they cross the start-finish line right there. So now we'll give you an idea how this chase is progressing. You see it on the lower left of your screen. Watching Hensler just in front, that black and red Porsche, number 43, being chased by Patrick Long, and you're on board with Patrick.
Similar cars, but they'll have slightly different suspension setups for driver preferences, and also the tires. We're 2 different tire brands battling. Patrick Long, the car that we're on board right now on the Michelins. Getting a lot of revs going up there. Now this is the other spot. Try and close up here.
He picked up speed in section 1. Now let's see what he does in section 2.
Good run off that corner.
The other thing Patrick's doing is working the mirror of Wolf Hensler, letting him know exactly where he's at, trying to disturb him a little bit, force him to lose his concentration.
It's a good part of the game. If you take concentration away, instead of devoting time to go as fast as you can, you try to defend. And anytime you're on a defensive mode, it's just like a football team. You're not as good.
And he picked up more speed in section 2, but let's see what happens in section 3 now, the final portion of the racetrack.
Down to the hairpin.
And that P2 car still coming through with McMurray.
I'm kind of surprised that McMurray hasn't gone by at this point and have to think, well, there he is right there.
Well, and he lost time in section 3, and a lot of that was probably due to the P2 car coming through there.
Yes.
That P2 car with Chris McMurray behind the wheel running second in P2. The number 10 is now after leading most of the day. So here's what's going on in P2. Clint Field right there, the leader in that category.
Oops.
Oh, in trouble for the 24 car. Ian Bass was running about 7th in GT2.
Now, don't
I don't know what just happened, but yeah, I've got something's wrong with my engine. Not pulling at all. Now it's actually starting to pull.
Maybe the engine's seizing up here, although he's underway. I don't see any smoke coming out the tailpipes, nothing underneath the car, no fluids. There's the 2 champion ADT Audis they're running together right now. Frank Biela in the number 1 car is continuing to read. Marco Werner is still showing a lap behind Chris Dyson. So champion first and third, the Dyson car pretty secure in second place. Wow, we got him. Patrick Long slid right up the inside there. A lot of congestion down the hairpin. You see right now, look at that right back. There's the Flying Lizard car along.
Well, Ian Boss in the 24 car. Looks like electrical gremlins, guys. They said it just shut off in the middle of the corner, but then refired. Everything seems to be okay for now. But obviously, if he had that problem once, you got to think it could come back. Ralph?
That's something they'll be aware of. Is a Peterson White Lightning car with Patrick Long. Tries to hold off Wolf Hensler. Stay with us. We're coming back for more from Infineon right after this. Welcome back to Infineon Raceway, live here on CBS Sports with the American Le Mans Series. Earlier today, we showed you exclusive first pictures of Porsche's new P2 class prototype, along with what the new car looks like. The biggest secret so far has been who would the drivers be? Well, now we can tell you. Along with Emanuele Collard, two familiar faces to Porsche fans will pilot the new Porsche Penske entry at Petit Le Mans in September. Former ALMS GT2 champions and longtime teammates Lucas Luhr and Sasha Maassen will be at the controls. And American Porsche boss Peter Schwarzenbauer says they were an obvious choice.
I would say it was probably one of the easiest decisions in this project. I mean, both drivers have proven over the last 5 years that they are very, very capable drivers. They did a great job for Porsche. They basically won races in virtually every racetrack in the world. So I think this was one of the most easiest decisions on this whole project.
And in the past was always that our setups matches, so we don't have to do a big compromise to be both quick in the car. And I think that was our biggest advantage in the past, and it can be in the future as well. First impressions are really good. I mean, the car really handles good, and it's good reacting to changes. And it's really, really early to really say, you know, we have advantage or disadvantage. But from the first impression, it's a really good and compact and good reacting car.
Early positive results from testing and the prospects of working hand-in-hand with Penske Racing means Schwarzenbauer is thrilled.
So far, very, very good. What I'm hearing from all the experts here behind me working on the car, from the drivers, it's going very, very well. Everybody's very exciting. I'm very excited about it, and come out, smell this, and listen to the end. I mean, that's all about it. I mean, this is Porsche, and I'm really excited to be here.
And we were excited here today to be able to give you the first exclusive video of the Porsche in action. And of course, that car will be racing against this car, our current P2 class leader, with Clint Field behind the wheel when they make their way to Petit Le Mans in September, and then again at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca at the season finale before a full season competition with the American Le Mans Series next year. So Clint Field leading in P2, one of the four classes.
You had the run at Le Mans. You didn't actually see the green flag there in terms of starting the race. I understand today it's quite the experience for you to get through the green flag in the first lap.
Yeah, no, it's been a really great race. We've had to really fight for this, so I hope we're going to come through the checker in first. I obviously had a difficult start, my first start in an LMP2 car, and I think I just got a little overzealous on the throttle. So, but yeah, you know, we fought our way back, and Clint's doing a really great job.
Talk about the traffic. I know JJ had a close moment with you in one of the Audis. How difficult is it for you to see the traffic when they're coming up behind you around this racetrack?
Yeah, it's really quite difficult here, especially because there's so many off-cambered corners and such. So you're really sort of fighting to see where you're going, let alone look up in the mirrors. And everybody, you know, you got to sort of fight for where you can pass as well, because there's a lot of areas on the track you can't pass people at all. So everybody's just trying to get in there when they can, I think.
All right, Liz, fingers crossed the rest of the way. Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Bill, it seems simple just taking the green flag, but the start can be one of the most incredible parts of a race for a race car driver.
It really can. I mean, you've got your emotion all cranked up. You're just ready to go, and yet the tires in the car isn't ready to go. Your tires are cold, and even though you see the drivers squirming the car around the track on the pace laps, that doesn't heat up the rear tires. And we saw a bit of evidence of that when the Dyson car got all the wheel spin off the start.
Big learning experience for Liz Halliday here today, while her teammate Clint Field hopes to take it all the way to the checkered flag, which we will show you when we return live here on CBS Sports to Infineon Raceway. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Infineon Raceway. Audi drivers JJ Lehto and Frank Biela just finished the endurance ride of their life. And I'm not talking about Le Mans, I'm talking about a cross-country bike ride they took from Lime Rock, Connecticut to Sonoma, California.
It's just one of those things that when it comes up, it comes up. And of course, I've been always watching like documentary things about Route 66 and going across America. And I've been thinking about it for a couple of years already. I was just lucky that Frankie came with me because I was planning to do it all by myself.
It was just a nice thing. I mean, if you go to a race, you go to the hotel, you go to the circuit, of course you see nice places. And of course you know it's a big country. But by going from the east to the west coast, you really realize how big it is, and it was a fantastic experience. Favorite spot?
When we came towards Westmore, hitting the Nevada border, we stopped at the casino overnight. Frankie got lucky, he won $500. You know, he sat on the table for 2 minutes and $500, so he offered me a nice dinner.
Definitely the last day when we went from Reno to Carson City and then up in the mountains to Lake Tahoe.
Then we drove down to Sacramento. There was a river coming down as well, so we stopped in the middle and jumped in the river. And there was a snake, you know. I said to Frankie, check it out, you know, it's cool there, you know. I jumped in, you know, and take a picture, and, you know, he was just ready to take the picture, and the snake came, you know, and I said, ooh, but he didn't get it on the picture. So, unfortunately, but he doesn't like snakes. Total mileage at the end was 35.23. So it was a lot in 8 days. Average was 450 a day. And it was just really riding the bikes every day, riding them really hard, going all the time. And it's just, we saw what we saw. I mean, we saw a lot of America, a lot of nice people, bikers, normal people, different stages. And that was the reason for the trip anyway.
JJ and Frank enjoyed their ride so much, they're planning a trip from Laguna Seca to Miami to cap off their season. Ralph?
And one of their favorite parts, Bill, was going through Nebraska because it was so wide open and nobody around. They really loved getting away from the pressures of racing. And there is your race leader right now, Frank Biela. A little bit busier right now behind the wheel of his Audi R8, the champion racing machine, looking for another win.
Yeah, a couple of guys that really enjoy life. But you know what? To go across the country, yes, I'd love to do that too, but I'd rather do it in the Audi than the bike. God, that's a long way on a motorcycle.
Well, this Audi R8, car number 2, looking for its first trip to victory lane.
Yeah, they've had a remarkable season, actually. They've had second place to start out at Sebring, then a third in Atlanta, third in Mid-Ohio, and second at Lime Rock the last race, so they're due.
Chris Dyson sits in second in P1, one of the 4 categories competing here today. And Marco Werner, along with JJ Lehto, sit in third right now in P1 with about 7 minutes remaining in this race. Coming through traffic, catching one of the Panoz entries, the GT2 category car. Calvin.
Here with Emanuele Pirro, and Emanuele have been so close, knocking on the door on the verge of victory, and finally a few minutes left in this one. It looks like it's coming your way finally for you and Frank.
It was a really exciting race for me. I was right on JJ's tail until I had an accident with the Maserati and I broke a rim. And actually when I saw it afterwards, I was very, very lucky to make it to the end. So the car became unbalanced and I really struggled to follow. But still, we managed to keep the distance within 10 seconds. And then when Frank got in, he was happy with the car, and we were trying to save a lot of fuel to overtake them in the pits. But the accident, with Marco and the Corvette, was actually preventing us to do that. And then, it went. The race is not finished, but, it's looking quite good.
Certainly looking good, and I think the pressure that the number 2 car were putting on the 1 car may have contributed to that incident coming out of the pits for Marco.
It's so interesting listening to him say that yeah, they've got a really nice lead, and it's getting close to the end of the race. but they still don't want to admit that, yeah, they're going to win it. It's like the ultimate jinx for everybody. Just when you say they've got it, that's when all goes wrong.
Now you're looking at the P2 category race leader. Clint Field behind the wheel.
Clint has had a drive that I think the champion drivers would wish they had. Pretty uneventful for him today. He's driven very well. Again, his car too, you could see not a mark on it. Just the way Dad likes. Bring it home with no marks on it.
P2 category, of course, the smaller of the prototype classes if this is your first experience with the American Le Mans Series. The bigger of the GT categories is GT1, and going for 5 straight is this car and driver combination right here with Ron Fellows, teamed up with Johnny O'Connell.
Amazing. I mean, 2 very, very quick drivers that, as I said earlier, they know how to stay out of trouble. And so often that comes through. We've seen the 4 car that, quite frequently, the 4 car with Oliver Gavin and Olivier Beretta, it's the quicker of the 2 cars, but we've seen Olivier Beretta have 2 very, very rare spins today. Normally he's picture perfect with the car, but not today.
And that's 5 straight at this racetrack. The last driver to go 5 straight at any racetrack with the American Le Mans Series was Lucas Moore, who we were talking about earlier, one of the drivers in that brand new Porsche P2 category entry we're all so excited about, waiting to see. Corvette is still running 1 in 2 in GT1. Terry Borcheller has the Celine in 3rd, and the Maserati running 4th in GT1 right now.
I'm somewhat surprised. I thought the Maserati would have a much stronger day today. In fact, that's the GT2 leader just right there. There's the 2 cars in your picture.
Romain Dumas behind the wheel of that car right now as the Alex Job Racing team tries to hang on for victory here at Infineon.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought the Maserati would be a lot stronger today with the added benefits that the organizers have given it. A little bit more horsepower, but sometimes it takes a race or 2 to figure it out. They did look so good at Lime Rock. They had a good battle with the Celine right near the end of the race. And at qualifying here, they were very impressive, but it wasn't to happen in the race. That gives you an idea too, right there. You saw a picture, some of the cars cutting it very, very close to the end of pit lane. Precisely what caused the accident between the number 5 Corvette and Mark Werner.
One of the things Alex Job is wondering about too, as we talk about this team and their success in GT2, is whether or not he'll get a crack at maybe getting one of those P2 category Porsches down the road.
I sure hope so.
Well, and he's a privateer, and obviously Penske Racing is such a huge organization, tremendous amount of funding. In fact, the Porsche will be housed out of the Penske Racing shops in Mooresville, North Carolina, right alongside their NASCAR entries. So we'll see what Alex Job can do. Less than 2 minutes to go here now as we get into the final closing stages of the American Le Mans Series Round 5. Here we go, back to the P1 category. And if they can hang on for Frank Biela, it will be his first win since Sebring back in 2004, the 16th of his career. He sits 7th all time on ALMS win list, and Manuel Ipiro, for him, will be his 10th career victory in the series, his first since 2002.
And I think you're going to see a major explosion of emotion coming from the crew of the number 2 car, because they have 2 totally separate crews taking care of those cars. And those are the guys that have had to stand and watch their drivers come second, third, second. So today, they celebrate and look at the other guys go, finally, beat ya. That'll be good for them. You know, talking to the crews, and again, bringing back something about Le Mans, the dedication required of these fellows. For example, there's a lot of truck drivers here that are with all of the crews, not just the champion guys that did Le Mans. Their last days off were May 25th. They have worked non-stop from that point on. So Fellas, our hats are off to your dedication and your tireless effort on these racing cars.
And they're not getting any time soon. In fact, a lot of the teams will be working on these cars right here and then shipping them off to Portland. For example, the Corvette crew will take care of their 2 cars here at Infineon tonight, and then they fly back to their race shops where they're working on 2 new cars.
This time by, Frankie. Look for the white flag. This time by. 1 to go.
1 lap left for Frank Biela.
I've got no doubt he was looking for that white flag. He's going to enjoy this lap. Frank Biela came from running touring cars. He used to run the Audi touring cars back in Europe. Immensely successful driver in that series. And that eventually led to Audi offering him this ride. Well, not this particular ride with Champion, but the ride in the R8, initially with Yost, and then when Dave Mirage and the Champion fellas had a chance, they grabbed him.
Oh, somebody kicking up some dust in front of him.
And you see
that Dyson car.
That's Chris Dyson, just right ahead of him.
Working his way down from the far north end of the racetrack now through the very fast S's for the final time. The Audi R8, what an amazing machine it is. Set to retire at the end of this year. Audi bringing out a new car for ALMS competition next year. Rumors of it being diesel powered. That's going to be something to see. And the Audi R8, boy, it's going to be hard to make up a car any better than this one.
Agree.
But for today, they won at Le Mans, and they will win here today at Infineon Raceway.
Flag, Frankie. Checkered flag. Do it, Frankie. We did it. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Very much.
Frank Biela, Emanuele Pirro taking the win in P1. Here comes your GT1 winner. And it'll be Corvette finishing 1-2 as Ron Fellows and Ollie Gavin come nose to tail off the final corner.
Yeah, notice Ronnie breaking down the middle of the track too. He wasn't taking any chances of his teammate out breaking him into that final curve.
Nice job, you guys. Nice job. Nice job, everybody. Sweet. 1-2.
Corvette number 3 taking the win. And here comes a battle in GT. The 23 car, the white one, is going to be the winner. Patrick Long in front of him is actually going to finish in second, but the 23 of Alex Job Racing takes the win here today.
Excellent job. Boy, total domination for Alex Job this weekend.
Boy, they did an awesome job, the 23 team did. And in P2, Clint Field has already claimed the checkered flag and will be making his way to victory lane. That's where we're headed next. Stay with us. You'll meet the winners there.
CBS Sports coverage of the Infineon Grand Prix, presented by Yokohama, is sponsored by Audi. ADT, America's residential and commercial security leader. And by Yokohama Tires, the only choice for those who demand uncompromising performance.
Welcome back to Infineon Raceway, where the checkered flag is fallen. And here is the overall results for P1, and Calvin is with our winner.
Well, Frank Biela, a great double stint there to take the victory, the first for the number 2 champion Audi. Frankie, it's been a long dry spell. What's it like to hit victory lane once again?
Yeah, this is a very nice feeling, I tell you, because it's the first year for me with Champion Racing, and the team is doing such a great job, and the guys are first time in sports cars, our crew, but they're doing a very, very good job, and they really deserve it. I mean, for us, it's definitely very nice. We were struggling a little bit in the last few races in traffic and with some bad luck. Now, today, finally, we made it. I'm very, very happy and pleased for the boys.
Congratulations, and with the win here today, it really slices into J.J. Lehto and Marco Werner's lead in the championship, Ralph.
Boy, that it does. The number 2 car just 3 points behind, and it's a good battle, Bill. Even the Dyson car's right in the thick of things.
Yeah, it's very close. It's going to keep pressure on the crews and drivers all the way down the road, which, of course, makes better battles for us.
And in GT1, Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell take the win, their 24th career all-time. They are now #1 in all-time wins, Tracy.
That's right, and this is their 5th straight win here at Infineon. Ron Fellows, Johnny O'Connell, congratulations. Not much challenge out there, but you got it done. How'd you do it?
Well, you know what, everyone in Corvette racing is about team, and, you know, more so than anything, you know, I think we proved that today with a 3-car. You know, Ron ran strong, you know, I felt great in the car, and it came together, man. 3's normally our lucky number, but we're getting 5, man, that's pretty sweet.
Ron, what is it about this track?
Well, it's Dan Binks, all the guys. They won us more races with pit strategy than I think we've lost them. So, yeah, we had a real good car this weekend, and I always enjoy coming. It's never a bad trip to California. So I want to say thank you to CompuWare, Tommy White in particular, and this one's for Jim Smallwood.
Thanks a lot. Congratulations.
They did a tremendous job, and let's take a look at the point standings in the GT1 category, where Corvette dominates on top, but it's a good inter-team battle right now.
They're staying close, but you know, once again, Gavin and Beretta have just cut out those little mistakes.
There's the P2 points, and let's head downstairs once again to Calvin.
Well, Clint Field brings it home for the number 37 squad. A great performance. McMurray slipped a little bit there with Miracle Motorsports entry and new pants.
Well, I mean, we had a really great race. I mean, the crew did a great job. Liz did a great job in the beginning. We caught a few breaks with the yellow there. We were quite a bit behind, but you know, I got to thank everybody. I mean, Barry Exotics, Richard Barry, AR, Lola, everybody at home. We got to say hi to Dad, everybody. So we're happy. Superb job. Thanks.
Miracle held on for second in P2, and the Mazda came home in third in P2 category. It was a good battle in P2. In fact, it sure looked like the 10 was going to pull that off for quite a while. But in GT2, boy, there was no question there, Brian Till, who the winner was going to be.
That's right, Ralph. In GT2, it almost looked easy. We talked to Timo Bernhard earlier. Romain Dumas finished up in that car. We know Timo handed you a perfect race car. 5 races down now. You've won the last 3. Can you even allow yourself to start thinking about the championship?
Well, you know, if we just saw the first race in Sebring, we lost 26 points, so now we came back. It's true, we again win today, but we're still a long way, and now the 31 car is also stronger and stronger, so we can see it's a nice race in GT2, and we will see. We make a great job, the team worked very well, no mistake. Timo today was really fast on the first stint, so I just have to control the race, increase the gap, but it was quite easy today, I would like to say.
Quite easy today, but he said earlier, guys, they're not all that way. They'll take this win. Words of experience. We'll take it one race at a time. We'll think about the championship at the end of the season. Ralph?
Well, Porsche sweeps the top 4 positions in GT2. Bernhard and Dumas in the number 23 car in victory lane. And here's the points battle in GT2, which right now is all about Porsche as well.
That helped considerably. You heard Timo Bernhard earlier talk about just taking one race at a time. Well, suddenly now they're closed back up a lot better, and championship hopes are definitely brighter.
Next up for the American Le Mans Series, they go up the road north to Portland International Raceway for the Portland Grand Prix, July 30th. You can check that race out, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, it was a great weekend of racing here in the beautiful wine country of Sonoma, California. Any big surprises to you, Bill?
No, I always love coming out here because this is such a great track for spectators and drivers alike. I love it. Love to see the competition.
Great battling throughout. Congratulations to all of our winners. I think probably the most exciting part of the weekend overall, getting a look at that new Porsche. It's going to be a lot of fun as we make our way towards Petit Le Mans to see what's in store for next season. Well, of course, the American Law season will return here on CBS Sports. For Tracy Wolfson, Calvin Fish, Brian Till, and Bill Adam, I'm Ralph Shaheen. So long, everybody.